Hi everybody and welcome to Network Minds. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Linux distribution called Debian. It's one I've been using for probably 20 plus years, if that dates me. And it's been my operating system of choice or distribution of choice from Linux, but I've played around with a lot of others. So let's go ahead and install it, and I'll show you how to install it on Virtual Machine Workstation 10. First thing we're going to do is come over to the left hand side of the screen here, and we'll right click on, we'll choose File, New Virtual Machine, and we'll get our new virtual machine wizard come up. And last time we went through a typical recommended install, so this time let's go ahead and use Custom Advanced, and we'll hit Next. Here it's going to ask me what hardware compatibility to expect. And that's based on the system itself. We'll use the highest version. Sometimes workstation and virtual machine clients, not sometimes, but in scenarios, as clusters and groups and share virtual machines between computers or systems or servers. So that's why I could put this, if I have one on the network that runs at version 9, that's what I would do. I would set this down to 9 so that it can communicate. But I don't need to, and I'm not going to use anything under 10, so we'll leave it on there. It shows limitations and also compatible type products. So next we'll go to next, and here we're going to our operating system. We're going to install it from a file, browse, and this here I downloaded it off the Debian's web page, which is www.debian.org. I can put a link in the show notes below. I picked the basic CD1 off of their image and their main ISO CD. I would have to make a video on its own on just picking distributions or whatever. So in this case, I'll give you a link to this folder, and you can download this if you want along. If you had any other questions or wanted a different example, please leave comments down below. So now that I get the file downloaded, I'm going to go to the downloads folder and choose my image file. It can't detect what operating system's on there, but that's okay. I'll hit next, and I'll tell it by default that it's a Linux distribution and version. Let's scroll through and find Debian. Here it is, and it is a 64-bit edition that I've downloaded. This is version 8, but it doesn't matter. We'll just choose 7 because it's the highest version in there, and hit next. So virtual machine name, we'll leave it as default, but we'll put -base, and again it's just so that I can use this as to copy from once I get a base install set up. So we'll go ahead, and for processors, let's give it 2, and for cores per processor, let's just give it 1 for now. We can upgrade it later. Here for the memory, it says 512. Let's give it at least 1028. So it's got 1 gig of memory. And network connection, we're going to use a network address translation, or NAT. And basically that gives me a network within, like this is a virtual network, so it'll keep it within that. And my actual network will only see as if I'm inside a completely different network. I'll explain networks and what NAT and bridging and everything else is in its own video. So for now though, we'll use network address translation, or NAT. For SCSI controller or SCSI controller, we're going to use LSI logic, and I can't remember the differences, but again, this would be something I'd cover specifically on its own. And so again, we'll pick SCSI. It's the main driver. If we wanted to use like SATA drives and things, like just to show up how the disk is going to show up to the operating system, we could pick SATA or IDE. But we'll leave it as SCSI. And for disk, we're going to use a virtual disk. We'll make a new one, and so we'll choose this option. If you already say you already went through this process, but you wanted to use a file that you already had made, you could just choose this option, use an existing disk, and then choose it later. Look at that. And to use a hard drive specifically, as soon as I clicked it, it wanted access to be able to do that. but I'm not going to do that, so I'll just cancel it off. We'll use create new virtual disk. So from here, we're going to keep allocate all disk space now unchecked, just because it will increase performance, but right now we don't care, and we're just going to run it because it takes forever to build these files. So let's go ahead and hit next, and let's choose where it wants to save the files. Let's go ahead and browse. I'm actually going to take this file name and I'm going to make a new folder, give it that file name, and save them right there. Okay, so now we have our options here. It's going to save it under virtual machines, Debian 764-bit base. Operating system is 64-bit, version 7, 200 gigs split files, a gig of memory, using network address translation, and also some other hardware that we've added in. So we'll go ahead and hit finish. Alright, with that done, we can go into edit virtual machine settings, choose the CD-ROM drive, and just double check and see if our file is being selected. It's not. Oh, it is being selected here. So we'll hit OK, and we'll power on our virtual machine and go ahead and on our next episode install Debian version 7 64-bit.